Ready to go. Thank you for joining the Black Woman Speaks episode. No men allowed, ladies. We kicked Dr. Fortner and Dr. Lester out. You will have a chance to see them next week. This meeting in the ladies' room will cover various topics related specifically to women. But first, let's remind our viewers of the original Divas of Doc Talk. We have Major Dr. Michell Greenidge. We have Dr. Regina Parnell from St. Louis, Missouri. And we have two special guests, and I will allow them to introduce themselves. Go ahead, ladies.
We're so respectful of each other. You see how we do?
Okay, Dr. Mia, go ahead.
I don't know exactly what you want to know, but my name is Dr. Mia Lavizzo, and I hail originally from Chicago, South Side, but I have been living in Champaign-Urbana for almost 18 years with my family, and I currently am working at the Centennial High School, serving as a dean, and working in this community, trying to make the best I can of a really tough situation that we're in. But I am so happy to be here. I am so very thankful to my soror, my friend, Regina, Dr. Regina, for inviting me. And I'm so happy that you ladies are allowing me to share this time and space with you. So thank you.
Thank you for being here.
All right, Dr. Mia, thank you for setting that tone. Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Crystal. I hail from South Carolina, but I haven't been there since I've been 18 years old to live, honestly. But currently live in the Midwest, where it is currently snowing outside here. So I'm a little jealous of my ladies on the East Coast right now. I am also an active duty mental health therapist, licensed clinical social worker in the United States Air Force. And I also teach at the University of Kentucky in their College of Social Work as well. So I am happy to be here, happy to have this conversation, and I cannot wait to get it poppin'.
All right, thank you, ladies. I am Dr. Crystal DeBerry from Memphis, Tennessee, licensed clinical social worker as well. And again, thank you to our guests for joining us on tonight. All right, Dr. Parnell, you ready for us to get this poppin'?
I'm ready. I would be remiss not to say my line sister, my soror, Dr. Mia Lavizzo, I'm so happy that she could join us. Unlike all of us, Dr. Lavizzo is married to medicine, but yet she still found herself a way to make it for her, make it on her own. So that says right there why she needs to be in this topic of Black women, because she could have easily sat home and did nothing, but yet she fought her way to get her doctoral degree, and I'm so proud of her for moving forward to show other women, especially young Black women, that even though you're married to medicine, that you can continue to go and make your own coins. So shout out to Dr. Lavizzo. But the first question that we have for you ladies, do Black women identify as Black or as a woman first? And why?
I can start. I identify as a woman first, right? And for me, I think it's very important to recognize that. And I wish I could just, Black woman can be just like one whole word and we can say I just identify as that. But I definitely identify as a woman. I'm proud to be able to say that I am a woman. And, I think during this time of kind of where we're coming and what's going on with us, women, we run the world. Whether we want to believe it or people want to admit that, women are running the world. Women are finding themselves. Women are doing so much for themselves right now. And so I'm really excited about that. So yes, I first identify as a woman, but not too far behind do I put my Blackness in there, because that's really important for me as well.
Ooh, I think I identify as Black first. Whenever I walk in a room, I'm trying to find where I'm sitting and who I'm sitting with, right? Like I'm trying to scope the scene out first. And then as a woman, and I didn't even realize I was doing it until I started working in the space of reentry and incarceration. and going into meetings, a lot of times the meetings are male dominated, right? So at first I was kind of finding myself walking into spaces and looking where most of the Black people were, sitting. But then in this space, I was like, wait, okay, hold on. I need to rethink this now, because now the space that I work in is not filled. Well, I should say it's filled more so with males. And so now when I walk into certain meetings, I am looking for women in regards to that connection. So for me, it almost depends on the space or the setting that I'm walking into.
All right, Dr. Mia, let's get a word in from you, ma'am.
I'm just absorbing all this greatness. But wow, if I can be a little transparent here, I'm gonna go ahead and be honest. I think that in this climate, I probably would have answered that question a little differently. But being in the space that I'm in and the work I do so much with young Black girls, and the over policing of who they are and their bodies, their hair. And also being that I am, a little yellow girl, light skinned. I always say I'm lightly melanated, but hella Black. So the truth in that is my situation is I can't pick, because I think that for me, they are so tightly connected in my identity and who I am and what I present to this world. Black woman, yes. Woman, yes. And I feel like the challenges of both of those, they're so tightly woven together that I don't know. I don't really know. I would say right now, I am so unapologetically a Black woman, but I always say that I'm a double minority because of that. So I don't know. I just think that there's something so magical about Black women, so empowering. And so that's a really, really good question. And I think I find myself struggling with that right now, because I don't know if I'm choosing one and neglecting the other. So I want to say that they're synonymous for me, and they're so tightly connected that I'm not sure if I'm answering that question, but I'm answering the best that I can with the tools that I have right this minute.
And I can definitely totally see where you are with that, Dr. Mia, because I think it is shaped by our environment. I think my environment has probably made me feel more like the only, right? And so, especially in my environment, I think I do feel both. But for some reason, I feel me being a woman, is more of the issue in my environment. And then when we put that icing on the cake, honey, and we see that melanin, right? And then we go ahead and put a little confidence on top of that as well.
Right.
That's where that thing just kind of meshes all well together. So I can definitely see where you are when you say that. It's definitely dependent upon kind of our environment and what we're doing every day, actually who we're working with, especially working in a male-dominated environment like that.
Yeah, and like touching on what each of you ladies have said prior, and especially what DeBerry said, Dr. DeBerry, it's your environment. When she walks into an environment, into the reentry world where there is male dominance, she's looking for more for women. So it does play a role in who we are and what we are. Sometimes we're the only. When we see someone that looks like us, we kind of move towards them. But when we walk in a room, when it's all of us, we just, hey, we are women in here. So like today, we're educated women, and we're looking at each other as women and not just as Black. We know we know our background history of each other, and we know the struggles that most of us had to encounter to get here. But yet and still, we made it, and we're considered the cream of the crop because we did make it. So with that, we are the women of the hour.
Yes, we are. I totally agree with everything that everybody said. I identify as a woman first. I'm totally with Dr. McLeod on that. Just from growing up, that's what I identified with first, right? Like if you really kind of think about as you're growing up, at some point you learn that, oh yeah, you Black too. You know what I mean? That's a thing, right? We see each other, we relate to each other and all those good things, but we know we're a woman first, right? Or a girl, whatever however you want to put it. And as we grow up and get older and really get the true meaning of what it means to be Black, what it means to be Black and a woman, I think that's why I identify as a woman first, but obviously Black is right, not far behind. And also I agree, Crystal, Dr. Crystal, when we walk into a room, first of all, you have people looking at us and they're also trying to decide what they're identifying you as first, a Black woman or a woman who is Black, right? And so we because of that, we often go into buildings and we do the same thing, not even realize it, like you said, right? So at the end of the day, I know that I'm both, but I identify as a woman first, for sure.
And I would say, regardless of what we identify as and who other identify us as, all great men come from a woman. So with that, let's move on to the next question. So you can't get into this world without a woman unless, you come other ways, miracle ways. But why do we carry the burden of the feeling of guilt for saying no so often and I would say as a Black woman, it's hard for us to say no in certain situations. So why do we carry that burden of guilt when we have to say no?
I think for me, I don't know that I carry the burden of guilt because I say no. I think when I can't help someone, that's kind of where I may have a little bit of a mixed feelings. But for me, that has gotten better over time. Because I'll tell you, the last 3 years for me has been such that no is very quick. Okay. And it's one of those situations where it's no and I'm moving on. Right. And I think we grow as we grow as women, especially Black women, we learn that it's okay to say no. Because I feel like, we have to be so performative in our work environments, in our home environments, with our family. We are constantly on display, constantly performing, right? And we carry this burden of, I have to be able to do this. And if I can't do this, then, oh, I'm letting someone down instead of, oh, I'm taking care of myself. Right? So I think as I've grown and become a more mature woman, that no becomes so much easier now with no guilt. It really does. And I do believe it's dependent upon what you're doing. When you're doing something that you want to do, right? And it's something that is heartfelt for you, you may feel a lot more guilty about saying no or sad about saying no versus when you're doing something you really didn't want to do anyway. Right? And it's like, no, okay, next, right? So I do think that can vary as well, but I do feel that's a thing that we as Black women are getting better at is saying, no, I am taking care of myself. I don't know that we felt like we could say no for a long time. I don't know that we felt like we could even do that because if we did say no, we would be lazy or don't want to do anything. Oh, she got an attitude. Oh, she's not a team player, right? So I just don't know that we had that confidence to say no without feeling like all of those things would come when we did that. But I think that's definitely getting better. It definitely has for me as I've gotten older.
I think I'll go because Dr. Crystal M, I need to drink some of what you're serving because I struggle with no in terms of I do have a servant spirit and I know that we all do. It's like this mothering nature that we have for everybody. And I think that for me that I often struggle with no because I'm concerned that somebody is going to suffer as a result of me engaging in self-care. And that is something that I neglect more often than I should. So I think I feel guilty because I think the expectation is, well, you're in this helping profession. well, this is what you do. This is who you have presented yourself to be to me or to whomever it is that I'm, saying yes to when I really mean no. When I really mean no. And what is so counterproductive to that? And actually, I tell my kids all the time, no, say no. It's a complete sentence. Tell them no, you can't do it. But my son called me out and he said, you always tell me to do it this way. You always tell me about self-preservation, but you never do it. And I was like, oh no, it's different because like I work in the high school and the kids need me. And when I was, working at as an adjunct in school of social work, well, no, the students that I'm working with, they need me to do this and this and this. And I'm finding myself probably lying because nobody needs you like that. You need yourself more than anything, and you need to care for yourself more. So I'm really, really practicing that what I preach, that no is a complete sentence and that I have to stand on it when I say no. But I do carry guilt behind it. I do. I'm not going to lie about it.
Yeah, so, and you know what I do also wonder, ladies, is I wonder if once we as Black women reach a certain level in our lives, whether that be financially, whether that be our education, whether that be the status we hold in our families, right? Does it make it more difficult for us to say no because we are held at such a standard? Oh, this person has it all together, right? And so I think that does, once we reach a certain level in our lives, and I think we all reach a great place in our lives that many people may see as something that they want to do. It's almost like once you reach this level of education or job or income, all of this stuff just kind of comes with that, right? And I wonder how much of that plays a role into that as well.
I think it plays. I think it plays a big role, but then in some areas, in some environments, I think it feels when you feel like you have to, like Dr. Lavizzo said, she has a servant spirit. So when that spirit is in you, you feel that guilt. And I would use the fact that the young men that I work with, y'all know I've been in a whole different state for the last 2.5 years, but yet they still holding on to me. And I feel that guilt for not providing that service to them. So now I'm doing Zoom meetings. I'm running back and forth across the state lines to ensure that they are healthy and whole because I don't want to feel that guilt or I don't want to lose yet another African-American male on something I could have helped them with. So it does have that weight of guilt on you. And it's not about all the time the education. These young men have had a stronghold on me before I thought about getting my master's degree. So sometimes it's that in your spirit, or it's just sometimes that expectation and that relationship that you built with people that you don't want them to be not successful or to be whole.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I think in a lot of people in this field experience that, right? But let me tell you, what you guys are all speaking to me. I was like, man, this is deep because I remember I had a client and we were processing trauma. And it was one of those moments where I had to keep my mouth shut, even though I wanted to tell her to keep going. And I had to keep my mouth shut. And so it was a long pause, probably the longest pause ever. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden there was this noise. And it was my stomach. I was hungry. And she started cracking up laughing. And she was like, was that your stomach? And I said, yeah. And I said, I'm sorry, I hadn't eaten yet. And it was 1 o'clock. And she was like, ma'am, how are you supposed to help me if you don't even help yourself? And that spoke to me. Wow. That spoke to me. That truly spoke to me. And she was absolutely right. Just like everybody else talked about, I think we get to a point in our lives where we realize that we have to say no at some point. There is no way that you can't say no. You're going to have to. You've got to, because you've got to take care of yourself, because you cannot sustain this your entire life and live a healthy one at the same time. You're going to take dips in your livelihood, and then you can't even be there for who we're trying to be there for. So I think it's just really important to understand that. I think we, as Black women, we naturally have that, right? But then as social workers And in the helping profession, we also carry that as well. And we have to be able to separate those things. So as long as we're all working on that, I think that's wonderful and I think that's healthy. But just like my client said, how are we going to help them and we can't help ourselves?
Dr. Greenidge, get out of my house, because seriously, I was about to say a lot of the things of what you just hit on. But Dr. Crystal, I'm sorry, brought up a good point as well. So because of all of my different responsibilities, I do have to say no. So for example, I'm a mother of 5. I teach for 3 different universities. I run 2 organizations. And then I oversee the chapter of Black Girls in Social Work in Memphis. This is the first time for us to have a Memphis chapter, right? And now we're doing this virtual learning. Now, see, my children do not log into their classrooms. I have to be the teacher. Literally, we're clicking links all day. There's no teacher. When I told my family and friends I was going to tell all of the universities that I could not teach next semester, everyone was like, I have never told the universities no. But like Dr. Greenidge is saying, I have to be there for my children. I have to say no. Like, that's just not an option. I am a mom first, period, no matter what. And the thing is I think sometimes it is hard for us. Dr. Greenidge said something else, naturally. I don't know about you ladies, but I witnessed the caretakers. My whole family, like on my mom's side, female dominated. Let me tell you what my aunts can do. They can change tires, tell you what that oinking noise is, that squeaking noise is on your car, and everything. And can still throw down for Thanksgiving dinner. But literally, I come from like a female-dominated family from just about on both sides, and all I saw was caretakers and people not really saying no. But I had to put those boundaries in place. Like Dr. McLeod said, no with a complete, and that's it, with a period poo, okay? It was really, it took so long for me to grasp that concept. And even when I'm talking to my clients about, well, how do you say no? I said, start small. Just say, well, no, because, my schedule is full, or I have something to do. I said, if you can afford to waste those seasons in lie, do that. Well, no, because I have something to do. Then your next step is the no. And then when that silence comes after the no, laugh. Because they're literally waiting on you to give them an answer. But now just laugh, like no. And call it back. Because after a while, you believe me, you don't have to do those tasks that you don't want to do in the first place. And you start to really realize this energy management component to saying no. Oh, it becomes real easy. Hey, Krista, can you know? But I didn't finish. It don't even matter. Can't do it.
Yeah. So it's still, even though you're saying no, you still might have that guilt. So it's about doing that self-care to be okay with that no, even if you still have that guilt, even though your spirit is wanting you to serve, even though you want to help, but you just don't have the time or the energy to help, but being okay with it and doing a self-evaluation within yourself to know that it's okay. It's okay. And building support groups. Like we are support groups for each other. If I'm having a hard time, I'm going to shoot a text message in a second. Hey, I need your ear. Give me something. It's about having each other's back, because we are so often the caretakers. We are so often the lead of our families or in our circles of others. So, just having that support system for yourself, that self-care. So, it can be stressful. So is it really condemning or a compliment when someone says, you're the superwoman in my life? So what do you think that is? Is it complimentary or is it condemning?
I think it's just so
hard to articulate, isn't it not? Like, no, it's not.
I think it used to be. Again, this is going to go with age for me, right? I think when I was younger and thriving, and it's like, girl, you so strong, you got on you this, oh my God, I think it was cute. Oh yes, I'm killing that, right? Now it's not okay because you know what the Superwoman cape is doing? It's causing anxiety, it's causing depression, it's causing a lot of issues within our Black community, especially our women, that we're struggling with internally because we feel like we have to continue to wear that cape when in actuality we don't have to. So I think now that we're looking at failure. I saw a post the other day that talked about failure. It says Black women think they're failing, but they really have depression or anxiety. Right? Yes, it talked about how we think it's failure, but it's really depression and it's really anxiety. But we're so focused on not messing it up, taking care of everybody, doing it all, wearing cape, that we're not realizing that, hey, my depression may be getting worse. My anxiety may be getting worse. My body, my physical body is really, really giving out on me, and I can't stop doing what I'm doing or else, right? So I think that was cute when I was young and in my 20s, maybe even early 30s. But now, no, wearing the Superwoman cape is not the business for me anymore because that's not been helpful for me. And, you know, I'm pretty transparent about that. Wearing that Superwoman cape has caused me probably have so much anxiety in my life about my ability to be successful, about my ability to be judged, about my ability to be perceived a certain way. And I don't like it. So it's one of those things that I am working on internally. And it didn't start. You know, I didn't start working on that and feeling comfortable shedding that cape until the last 3 or 4 years, because it took something very significant to happen in my life, in my career, for me to say, you know what? It's time to start taking care of yourself, right? So that's still very recent for me. So no, I do not think it's cute when someone says, girl, you strong, you got that cape, you flying. I don't want to fly, and I don't want you to think I'm so strong. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know,
What about you, Dr. Lavizzo? Oh, go ahead, Dr. Michelle.
Okay. And you're so right too, because what is a superwoman? The superwoman is not real. We're human, right? And so we can't be superwomen. Like, you know, I get it that, you know, we can do all of these different things. And as women, we're going to continue to do all of these different things. But if there is this idea that Black women can do all and still be all right, that's not real. You know what I mean? And so I think changing the vocabulary is very important. Changing those words. No, we're not superwomen. We're human beings, right? And we can do only so much, just like the next person. And we're going to take care of some stuff, but we're going to take care of ourselves as well. So no, I'm not a superwoman, but I can get things done. I think there's a difference.
What about you, Dr. Lavizzo? What do you think? Compliment or condemning?
I think it all depends on the context. I think it's who says it, how it's being said, and what space is being said in, right? I've had it said to me in a sense that was definitely something that was trying to demean. Well, you're the superwoman, you go ahead and do everything, and you know, this and that. But no, I'm not the superwoman because I chose to be. I was the superwoman because I had to be. Because maybe you dropped the ball on something, or maybe you didn't do or didn't follow through on the expectation. But I'm so like in tune with everything that, you know, you guys are saying, because there is so much pressure on Black women. It is so much pressure that, I mean, it is exhausting. It is exhausting operating in this space. But we continue to do it and we continue to fight. So the compliment in that is, I don't know. I you know, at one time, I'm gonna go ahead and say what Dr. McLeod said. That was a big deal. Like, oh, superwoman, yeah, right. I can do it. I've done it. I'm gonna do it. Give it to me. Give it to me. To a point of exhaustion and a compromising of our mental health. And how about, I was just talking to my my cousin the other day, and I was sharing some experiences and what was going on, and she was like, I'm thinking you got a lot of stress and you might be dealing with depression. Oh, who? No, I'm not depressed. Oh, no. Not me. And as that started to process through that I'm helping all these other people heal and battle what I would perceive as depression on them, I'm not recognizing that I'm dealing with that myself right now. My workplace environment is so toxic, and I find myself very isolated in that space. Even when there are other Black women in that space, sometimes the stress of it becomes burdensome on one person, and you don't realize what's happening to you until you are breaking down. And so I don't want to be a superwoman. I do want to be a woman who is super, who is helping, who serves, but I do need to serve myself. And I'm failing in that regard. And that's where things are changing today.
It's so interesting when you talk about when you just bring up, like, the woman, right? When we just start breaking down, we don't recognize the mental health portion of it, right? So many of my clients, my ladies, when they come to me and I ask them, well, what all are you doing, right? Because they'll come to me and the first thing they'll say is, I just feel like I don't have it together. And I know right then and there, that's the woman who has on a superwoman cape. All right, now let's go ahead and let's untie this a little bit. Tell me what you have going on in your life. And they will tell me X, Y. I mean, forget A, B, and C, X, Y, Z, double A, double B, double C. We start the alphabet all the way over again when they're just talking about all the different roles that they have to play. Then, when they start really realizing and hearing themselves of what all that they're doing is, oh man, sis, send them kids for the weekend and don't feel guilty about it. You need that time, right? Even if you don't have children, make this weekend all about you. I know for me, I don't realize it until my body physically is shut down and I can't move. Literally, I'm stuck in a bed and can't do any single thing. I haven't had an episode like that in 2 years. I'm proud of myself. But when it got to the point where my body was shutting down, that's when I realized, oh, I have to start saying no. And when people would tell me, oh, Crystal, you doing X, Y, Z, and da-da-da-da-da, they don't realize I have 5 children. I have to have a job for every baby, and I'm married. So my hats go off to any woman that raised their children single-handedly, because I only did it for 3 years while my husband was gone to prison. But oh my gosh, I knew that my relief was coming sometime. For women who are doing this on their own, man, my hat's off to you, because my blood pressure is through the roof, and I'm saying no. So I think I need to start saying some extra no's and make sure I'm taking this cape off.
Yeah, sometimes, like you guys are saying, some environments we are expected to be the superwoman. I know my grandbaby, she swear I'm a superwoman, and I play that role with her, knowing some things I can't do. For some reason, she thinks there's nothing her granny can't do. And I try to live up to that expectation because I want her to know I'm setting the bar high. And I want her to reach the same goals that I'm setting, because I'm breaking down barriers, I'm moving walls, so she can walk straight through and be the best woman that she can be. So in certain environments, we are that superwoman, because like you said, I'm a single mother. So I raised 2 boys. So I had to be strong and tough and put on that facade that there's nothing that I can't do, because one of my sons, 260 pounds, he was a defensive lineman. So he needed to know that his mama wouldn't play with him and would try to tackle him to the ground if he tried her, even though he put me to the ground one day, but that's a whole different story. But, in certain environments, we have to learn that we are not the saver-all, that we have to relinquish that cape and have that self-care to be the woman and to, just to refresh so we can be that helper that we want to be. So with that stress level, what are ways that we can tell other women to give that self-care to themselves and to relieve that stress? What are some of the tips that you guys think that we can give them?
Before we get that, 1 second. So one thing I want to say is the compliment, as Dr. Mia was talking about earlier, I think the compliment is in what you just described, Dr. Regina, is being that superwoman for your children, right? Is doing all of these things. But we also have to be mindful of the fact that they have to see that we're human. Our children have to see that so that they know they can be human as well, right? And so that they know that the reality is, while we've taken care of things, sometimes we hurt. Sometimes we do get depressed. Black people get depressed and we get anxious. We do. That's a thing. I know when I was growing up, nobody in my family was depressed or anxious. As far as I knew, I didn't even learn about that until I went to college. You know what I mean? And I think it's very important to talk about that as we switch gears and start talking about self-care. And I'll turn it over to our guests, but I just wanted to point that out.
So first of all, this is self-care for me right here, right now. And being able to talk about a lot of the things that we go through as Black women, for me, is so helpful. This is so relieving for me. And so I just want, if there's another woman here that's trying to figure it out like we are, I just want them to know that they're a priority. You are a priority. If you don't make yourself a priority, how can you do anything for anybody else? And, you know, for me, I have been there and I know what that feels like. And I think if there's anything I can say about taking care of ourselves is make yourself a priority. Yes. I didn't start that until recently. And when I say it feels so good, it feels so good to me to be able to do that when I never even knew how to do it. So that's what I'm thinking about. So and again, as you guys can see, this platform today was my self-care because I struggle a lot with trying to take my cape off. So thank y'all for that part.
Crystal, don't have me starting. Look, she gonna make me take my glasses and wipe my eyes off. Hugs, honey.
Girl, you know I just be raw and uncut, honey.
Right. And that's what I mean. Yeah, and that's why you ladies were invited to be a part of this channel, because we want to be real. Yes. We don't want to sugarcoat anything for anyone and set that fake facade. We want them to know, although we're educated, successful women, we still hurt. We still have that stress. We still have that anxiety. We still have that stress level that's at the roof because we have so many other things to do. And so this is why this channel is here, so we can help other Black women like ourselves to know that it's okay. Because at some point you need to know it's okay. It's okay to feel like your world is spinning out of control. It's okay to know that I'm feeling anxious about something. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay. Just find help to help you be okay.
Correct.
So with that, Dr. Lavizzo, Dr. Lavizzo, what do you have to say?
Damn. Listen. Y'all are like,
y'all got me in group therapy today. I appreciate that.
I'm feeling more empowered. Like, seriously. I can't even, like, so I'm processing what Dr. Crystal's saying about making yourself a priority. And man, I fail at that. I felt at that in ways that are so detrimental to my spirit. And but it's really weird because I make everybody else a priority. Yes. I'm talking to them I'm talking to my son, make sure that you're doing this as we're preparing you for college. Make sure that you are, you need to be exercising. You need to be doing this. And I'm talking to my youngest, hey, I want you to focus on yourself. Don't worry about, all of this. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And Regina, what you said is so profound in terms of the facade, right? It's not that I'm fake. It's not that, because ain't nothing fake about me. But The reality is that I'm trying to fake it till I make it. And I ain't making it. I ain't making it this way. And so I stand with you in solidarity and all of y'all, because I can't give advice that I ain't taking no more. I gotta be true to who I am if I'm gonna serve in the capacity that I really know I can.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at. So I don't have the advice that would be beneficial to anybody right now, because I'm not taking it. I do know that I'm capable. I know that my self-concept and my self-esteem is that I know I can do it. Yeah. And I'm gonna do it.
There you go.
And that in itself, yeah. I was gonna say, Dr. Lavizzo, that in itself is advice to others.
Correct.
Be able to sit back and take advice from someone else.
Yes.
And be true to who you are. Like you said, you haven't made yourself a priority. And now that's the road you're going to. And that's advice. Yeah. That's advice. Okay.
Yeah, be able to sit back and say, dang, sis,
yeah,
I haven't did that.
Yeah. What you got over there, Dr. Captain Michelle, Doctor?
Oh, you don't know me, huh? Get it right.
Give her coins.
No, just messing around. This is what I love. This is exactly what I love right here, just like everyone is saying. So what I would want for the audience to know and to take away from this is get you some friends, right? Some real friends. A real friend will tell you the truth 100% of the time. Dr. Crystal McLeod, along with Dr. Crystal DeBerry and Dr. Regina Parnell, we're all friends. But Dr. McLeod and I are very tight. We have been friends from way back, okay? And so before we all got together, and she knows, and she will tell you that we will tell each other 100% the truth, even if we don't think the other will like it. You know what I mean? And you might be like, dang, you have to say that. But we're good to go. Well, you need that, because what you don't need is to have that group of friends that's going to jump on the negative bandwagon and bring you further down, because that's what that does. You can't have everybody just in that negative spirit, because you know what? That's just going to keep you down. You've got to be up. Let's just stop with the negativity, focus on ourselves, make ourselves the priority, process. All of that is okay. And don't be afraid to do it. I know that in our community, and I'm just going to foot stomp that. You know, that's a military thing. We say foot stomp all the time. But I'm going to foot stomp it to say it is very, very important to know that it is okay for you to get help for that depression, for that anxiety, for whatever it is that you might be experiencing. Go and talk to someone. I am here for you. And there's a couple of other ladies with their businesses out there, because what I do know is that Dr. McLeod did not talk about her business in private practice that she just started. I have one as well. So if you want to find me on betterhelp.com, do that. But talk to someone, okay?
Most definitely.
Come on, DeBerry. Dr. DeBerry, let's keep it rolling. What you got?
Oh, I was going to tell you, if you could restate your question. You asked a question, and I think we need to address that before we conclude.
Yeah.
Oh, the question was, everybody addressed it, but you, Dr. DeBerry.
Oh, I was the only one? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so as we're talking, right, we're all grown women. But at the same time, I'm thinking about my daughters. I have 4 of them, specifically my 13-year-old, and she's growing into this space of, well, Mama, I really didn't want to go, but I kind of went, because I didn't want them to think I was acting funny or X, Y, and Z. And I think it starts there with the learning to say no, and the whole, what will my peers think, and that whole process. And so I have definitely have found myself saying, hey, if you don't want to go, just tell them you can't make it. Like, I remember growing up, sometimes my mom would say, well, just go ahead and go. They came to your party or they did X, Y, Z. I'm letting my daughters know, hey, you don't have to go. You can tell them no, and it's okay. One of her friends, because she was like, Mom, have you ever lost any friends? And I said, yeah, I've cut people off, and she was just like, well, it's one friend, and I'm really finding it peaceful not to associate with her. That's some strong words for a 13-year-old. And I'm finding myself in less mess when I don't communicate with her. And so she said, would I be wrong if I told her I didn't want to be friends anymore? And I said, not at all. She said, well, I'm going to type up the text message and I want you to read it. And I did just that. And she has not looked back. I think it's so important for us to, and I'm speaking for those that are around young women, to help them to realize that at these moments, we don't have to always say yes or do things that make us feel uncomfortable. Start practicing that now. Again, just in private practice, I'm noticing grown women who are coming to me and falling apart. I can't hold it together. That's because it wasn't meant for you to hold the weight of the world on your back anyway. So let some of it go, right? And again, we're all grown women, but I'm thinking about my daughter and how, man, I'm in my late 30s and I just figured out how to say no. Let me go ahead and teach my daughters now, so they won't run into the same issues that I have or have had, right? So that will be my thoughts to the young and the old women, right? And just saying no. Let's not feel guilty about it. But making sure that you do put yourself first, and nothing is wrong with that, and don't let people make you feel bad for doing so.
Yeah. What I've heard so far is to say no, take others' advice, to build friendships and have strong friendships, and prioritize yourself. And so these are things that we are giving off to the listeners of our session tonight. Be okay with saying no. Prioritize yourself. Take that advice. Be a friend when you need a friend. Me and I have been, like Crystal Michelle, Dr. Michelle and Dr. Crystal have been friends. Me and I, we have a background. We almost 15 years in, and we've had our ups and downs. We've had our roller coaster relationship, but we still are standing as Black women, as friends, and we can move forward with her. And that's one of the things that I would say to other women. Sometimes you have that up and down with a friendship, but it's the womanhood in you to be able to get past it and to know that no relationship is honest, no relationship is without work is worth it. So if you can't work through a relationship, and if you can't jump those battles and those hardships, then it's best to just let it go. But Mia and Dr. Lavizzo and I, we've had our ups and downs, but we're still friends. We work through our issues and we still support each other. And that's what a friendship is. She's not my cheerleader to tell me I'm right 100%. She'll call me out when I'm wrong and vice versa. And that's what you need, like Dr. Michelle said. We have to prioritize ourselves, learn to say no, and take advice. So with the ending of our session, I want to give our guests and everyone else on the panel one word to say to any woman that's that's sitting and listening to us. Just give them one word to go forward with for the rest of their for the day.
My word is slay.
Flexibility.
Mine is commitment.
Mine would be human.
Ooh, yes.
I didn't hear you, Doc.
Human. You want me to spell it, Parnell?
Is it H-U? Is it H-U or H?
I just messing.
Oh, yeah. So, slay, be a human, be committed, and be flexible. And I would say, have hope. And with that, we want to thank you for being a part of our panel session tonight, Black Girls Only session, where we are definitely educated and successful women. And we pray that you go forward in your destiny and be great as you can be. Don't let anyone compromise who you are, and have a blessed day.
Yes.
We did it!
Yeah.
Bye.